Most of the blue chip stocks which rarely crack, and they crack when there is some serious problem. If they're cracking, that just smacks of institutional selling. And some institutional investors are throwing in the towel. We can blame it on a variety of reasons, but political logjam. Okay, Mukesh Butani now joins us, and we're going to stay with that story. The GST bill voting is on the floor of the parliament. Mukesh, Lok Sabha is given, upper house, the Rajya Sabha. That's where I think the problems are.
Correct. So I think, firstly, this is a historic moment in India's economic history. I think we've been talking about GST now for almost 2 decades, and we got very serious about it last decade. So it's finally happening. I think despite the numbers in the upper house, and despite the government knowing very well that this could very well face an uphill task in the upper house, they've still gone ahead and passed it in the lower house where they have the numbers, but it is all in anticipation that this will get passed through the upper house as well. Now, the people who are managing the politics of how it will get past the upper house, I'm sure, would be fully aware whether they want to do a joint session of the parliament or they want to get the opposition parties on board. That only time will wait and see. But I think more importantly, a very, very important signal that this government means that it is serious about economic reforms in general and tax reforms in particular. And I think GST, in my view, is a milestone achievement.
Mr. Adi Godrej is also here online with us. Mr. Godrej, it's still subject to clearance from the upper house, but you would reckon that it will see the light of the day?
So, and I think it's quite possible that some of the opposition party members might abstain in the Rajya Sabha, because what is required is a majority of the members need to pass the bill with a majority of those present in 2/3 of those present in voting. So I think that's possible. Of course, it may not be as easily done as in the Lok Sabha, but that's important. Then again, of course, some of the states have to approve it, which also I think this government should be able to do.
Of course, the big bone of contention still remains, clarity and perhaps the way forward as far as, where goods are manufactured and which states benefit from that. I think there's an additional levy clause that's been added to that. But by and large, do you think, with this amendment being put in place, things would be on track to meeting the deadline if, they're able to get all states on board?
Yeah, hopefully. And whilst it's not in its ideal form, this constitutional amendment, I think very soon they can get to an ideal bill. And I think the one problem is that petroleum products have been kept out of the bill. So I think that can be brought in by a vote of the GST Council. So I expect things will be good. But even in its present form, it is extremely beneficial for the economy. And I think all the states, not just the consumer states, all the states will benefit. The states will get part of the service tax revenue now. So I think it will be beneficial all round. It's a win-win reform for the country.
Mr. V.S. Parthasarathy, Group CFO, M&M also joins in. Mr. Parthasarathy, just hearing Mukesh Butani and Mr. Adi Godrej speak about their views, but it must be said that there's a very diluted version of the GST bill that we had earlier thought of. How crucial, very crucial of course, but how certain are you that this could see the light of the day?
They are going through the process and the motion right now, and this is anyway the very first step of a series of steps that needs to be taken. And then when this bill is passed in the parliament, then the states have to vote, and then there is a empowered council which is going to look at the next steps on this. So there is a set of process to happen, and this is the first step of it. So I'm hopeful that things will see the light of day at the appointed time.
But much delay is not something that the government can afford, as Mr. Jaitley has highlighted in the past. You can't wait for the next session if things get delayed, and there are just 3 more sessions for this budget session in Parliament. So do you believe that there is a sense of urgency with regards to passing the bill so that a major chunk of the financial year is accounted for?
Yeah, both the economy and the industry requires this kind of positive step. This will be a great booster, as people before me must have spoken, both for the economy, state, as well as the center. So there are both commercial and economic logic to speed this up. But Parliament and the processes have to be gone through in order to come out with it. And I hope that it comes sooner than later.
Mr. Butani, I heard a couple of comments in the last 1.5 hours from various people mentioning that they are but they're a bit disappointed that this version is an extremely diluted version with key products like petroleum being kept out of the GST ambit for the time being. Would you be in concurrence with the same?
Well, I'd just like to make one general comment that if the country has an option to have a perfect GST versus a GST to start with, I think the choice is very clear in the minds of businesses and in the minds of economic policy thinkers, that we might as well have a GST rather than a perfect GST. We all know that there are constitutional constraints and there are issues that are very specific to state politics, and that's also the reason why it has taken so much time. So I'm not entirely sure if I agree with the disappointment expressed by others that we might as well have a perfect GST rather than not having a GST. Secondly, and insofar as states are concerned, I think different states have different issues. Some states have an issue on compensation. Some states have an issue on the say that the GST Council will have. And some states have an issue because the revenues will move out because they're primarily manufacturing states. For example, Gujarat and Haryana. And both of these are surprisingly BJP states. So I think that it's better for us to make a start now rather than having a perfect GST. Insofar as keeping the petroleum products outside is concerned, I think there is a compromise. The constitutional amendment bill says that this will be a decision that would be taken subsequently, for which you don't have to go back for a constitutional amendment. What is being kept out is only alcoholic beverages. So what the government seems to have done is strike a middle-of-the-road approach insofar as petroleum and petroleum products are concerned. They have brought them into the chain, but they have said that they will notify it later.
Yeah, the only drawback to all of this is, and just we take final comments, yes, but it is a bill that was supposed to be the one that will give a big trigger to the markets. It is a bill that everybody knows is positive and therefore should see unanimous acceptance. Somehow the scenes in the Lok Sabha or the Parliament at large have not been testimony to that. The sorry state of affairs really right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're just pretty much slowing down the process. And Mr. Parsati, before we wrap up, do you want to quickly comment on that? It's not like the GST bill is counterproductive in any way, in any major way, that political parties should oppose it so vigorously. There are some concerns for some states that we've just discussed, but all in all, it's a progressive bill. So in that light, and being a manufacturer yourself, how do you address the concerns that the states have, and how do you see things flowing as far as implementation of the bill is concerned over the next few sessions?
So, two parts actually. First and foremost is that overall GST, balancing the concerns of the center and the states, is being done in a very pragmatic manner, and I think it's a welcome step from that point of view. And due process will have to be gone through, and that's also a given. Obviously, you'd like everything fast, sooner rather than later. But let me just get 2 or 3, broader things which I see. That GST will increase GDP in India is one statement which you can look forward to. It will increase productivity. It will do the right things for value chain point of view. Tax will not decide the structure. Value chain will decide the structure in terms of how goods should be distributed. There will be productivity increase. Canada got 1.4. We could get more. And I think if that's the larger thing that we are all focusing on, I think it should lead to the right kind of conclusion. So, and some states will have some concerns, and I think that's where the Empowered Committee will address many of these going forward as it gets rolled down. So today is only a start of a process, is not the end of the process.
Hope it sees the end of the day soon. Thanks a lot for that, Mr. Parthasarathy. Thanks for joining in today. That's M&M with their views and a bunch of other names as well.